to open up gender and, yes, genital examinations into little girls in this country.
Republicans just passed extremely common sense legislation, and some Democrats are losing it and spreading wild conspiracies. We're going to talk about the latest meltdown from left-wing members of Congress like AOC and Ayanna Pressley, and so much more on today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where I take on the craziest ideas from across the internet, across our media, and across our politics, all from an independent perspective. First, guys, you can probably tell I'm in not my usual setup. I'm in a wonderful resort suite out here in Aspen, Colorado, for a really exciting event I'll be doing tonight that I will eventually share with you guys some footage and clips from, but for now, you'll have to wait in nervous anticipation. But I did promise you guys a show today and tomorrow, and I deliver for my audience. And I hope you didn't miss me too much. I was just flying and traveling most of the day, so couldn't make a show happen, but I missed hanging out with you guys. And now, we got to check in on our politics because it's an absolute crap show right now. Republicans just passed a bill in the House called the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act of 2025. Very simply, it just seeks to, quote, amend the Education Amendments of 1972 to provide that for purposes of determining compliance with Title IX of such act in athletics, sex shall be recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Translation. In public school sports and sports that are bound by Title IX, existing federal law ensuring equal opportunity for women and girls, women's sports will be limited only to biological females, not trans athletes, not trans women who are born biologically male. If you followed my channel for any time, you know that I support this position in general. I think it's common sense that sports need to be segregated by biology, not identity, and that that's necessary in order to preserve basic fairness and safety for women and girls in women's sports. But from the way that Democrats in Congress are talking about this legislation, or at least some of them, a few moderate Democrats have put out semi-nuanced statements, but the true progressives out there are losing it over this. They are melting down and spreading some of the most hyperbolic, insane, conspiratorial nonsense I've seen in some time, and that's saying something when it comes to Congress. Here are a few of my favorite moments from the floor debate over this legislation, featuring Congresswomen Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Madam Speaker, this bill not only erodes federal protections for our kids, it puts the physical and emotional safety of every child in our public schools at risk. Imagine you are 8 years old, trying out for the soccer team, and your coach demands that you show them your genitals. You are putting the safety of children across this nation at risk. And why? Because you want to vilify and harm trans kids.
Today, Republicans brought to the floor a bill that categorically bans transgender girls from school sports.
Now want to pretend today that they care about women. And why? To open up gender and, yes, genital examinations into little girls in this country in the so-called name of attacking trans girls. The majority right now says there's no place in this bill that says it opens up for genital examinations. Well, here's the thing. There's no enforcement mechanism in this bill. And when there is no enforcement mechanism, you open the door to every enforcement mechanism. Trans girls are girls. I don't know about y'all. I don't know who's been to gym class lately, but girls, even if you only believe in two genders, I've played co-ed sports all the time. I know who loves this bill. Yes, bigoted folks love this bill. Assaulters love this bill.
You hear that? If you agree with this bill, if you think sports should be separated by biology, not identity, you are a bigot, a predator, or an assaulter, according to AOC. Girl, give me a break. And I want to point out one quick fact check on one of the things that was said here that is objectively untrue. Actually, a bunch of things that were said here are objectively untrue, but I guess we have to take them one at a time. So what the second Congresswoman there said was that this bill bans trans girls from school sports. That's a lie. That's factually incorrect. It bans trans girls from female sports. they're still able to participate in male sports, as they are technically biologically male. They're not banned from all school sports. That's not true. But you see that framing a lot from people who disagree with this kind of thing. Ban trans kids from sports. No one's banning them from sports. In fact, I read this bill. It's only one page. It's not complicated. And from what I can tell, trans boys who are biologically female would still potentially be allowed to participate in boys' sports, which I've never had much of an issue with because they're only putting themselves at a competitive disadvantage. So if they want to play with the boys and they can make the team, doesn't bother me. I've always said that's fine. This bill doesn't even ban that. So it's not just about targeting trans kids. It is about ensuring fairness and safety in women's sports. That's important. That's valid. And it's not bigoted or hateful. And then the whole thing about genital inspections is insane, BlueAnon conspiratorial nonsense. Nothing in this bill authorizes coaches or school officials to inspect students' genitals. In reality, anybody who played school sports knows that you have to get a physical and submit a physical from a doctor in order to participate in almost all states in official school sports. And during a physical, your doctor will, in many cases, inspect your genitals. It's part of a well-check visit. It's a normal part of a physical, and they will be able to ascertain your biological sex. It is not some profound mystery. There's like a tiny, tiny, tiny decimal point of people who are intersex or have some true issue of abnormal sexual development that makes it hard to classify them. But that is not really the cases we're talking about here. They can ascertain student sex from their physicals. It's not that hard, and it doesn't mean that coaches will be able to willy-nilly demand a peep show. Like, this is just absurd nonsense with no basis in reality, and even AOC admits it's not in the bill. So how they're just so comfortable spreading alarmism that's simply not true, casting aspersions at their political opponents as if they're all predators and assaulters, which, by the way, is the same thing they complain about Republicans doing, calling everyone groomers, which I do think some people on the right throw that around far too loosely, given what a serious charge it is, but they're doing the same thing now. And so the only standards they seem to have are double standards. And I'm sorry, but they are on the record opposing what is common sense to most people, which is the need to separate sports by biology, not identity. I mean, look, guys, I'll roll you just one clip of so many clips of a trans girl, so a biologically male student athlete, participating in girls' school sports and just dominating the competition in a way that's frankly hard to watch and obviously not fair. Here's a clip from a high school basketball game recently where a biologically male student is just destroying the female competitors. There really is a strong strain of science denialism in the progressive dissent from this common sense legislation. I mean, look at AOC saying trans girls are girls. Okay, they're not females. They're not biological females. That's kind of the point. That's why they're trans girls and not just girls. Like, we all know this, but you're denying it. And then you're saying, well, I've played co-ed sports. Okay, then according to that logic, we should just abolish the sex distinction. Just have one basketball team. See who makes it. Newsflash, it will be all males. It will be all boys because they have stronger upper body strength. They can jump higher and they're taller and they're more physical. Like, it, almost all boys. Some girls once in a while may just have so much skill that they could hang with the boys, but you would be taking away opportunities for really important developmental and social opportunities for young girls and things that lead to scholarships and, you know, college level athletic opportunities. It's just, it exists for a reason. And you do need that biological separation. But the Democratic Party, only 2 Democrats voted for this legislation in the House. The Democratic Party is officially on the side of the Lulu. And the American public is not with them on this and thinks that they look crazy when they talk like this and act like this about an issue that frankly should be common sense. For what it's worth, this legislation is unlikely to become law in the immediate future. It would still have to pass the Senate, and I don't think it will receive the 60-vote threshold it would need to. So we don't actually have to worry about the immediate ramifications of this bill becoming law. But I do think it tells you something about where the parties are at right now. And for the Democrats, it's telling us something not good. But the Democrats aren't the only ones acting a fool about this basic legislation to separate school sports by biology, not identity. Some of the Republicans, even though I agree with them on the actual issue, are behaving in ways that are just clownish, immature, and frankly, ratchet and ghetto. So the context you need to know here is that there is a Democratic representative named Jasmine Crockett, and she is pretty far to the left, but she also, frankly, until today, I considered her to be the most ratchet member of Congress.
In my mind, I'm thinking, I just got to Austin and I had to beat 5 people to get here. I don't know about this. So y'all don't know what white privilege looks like, but I'm gonna show you a little bit of something.
Calm
Don't
down.
tell me to calm down,
Calm down.
because y'all talk
Please calm
noise
down.
and then
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
it. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
I had no idea what you just said.
She is constantly throwing slang from the House floor. She's insulting and dissing people like it's, not official remarks in Congress, but some sort of diss track on like a rap album. I'm just not impressed with her. I've covered her in the past, and I find her to be extremely immature and embarrassing. But a Republican congresswoman, Nancy Mace, actually managed to out-ratchet the most ratchet Democrat. Take a listen to this clip where Jasmine Crockett is doing her thing, being nasty, being rude, going after Mace, insulting her personally, but then Mace takes it up 0 to 100 real quick. Take a listen.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, trans, trans so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do
not
call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will.
am reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
Chairman,
I
I
am
am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr.
we
Chairman,
can.
the committee is not
Okay.
in order.
Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order.
We are governed by fools and clowns. Jasmine Crockett is the most ratchet person in Congress, and yet Nancy Mace just managed to out-ratchet her. She took the bait, where this woman is obviously trying to bait her, antagonize her over this trans debate, calls her child or child, I don't know. And Nancy Mace, right, Republicans are the same ones that make fun of liberals, and I'm right there with them for being snowflakes, loses it over someone calling her a child. Don't you have thicker skin than that, Nancy? Jeez. Especially, Nancy calls some of her colleagues groomers. And all right, you have the right to say what you want to say, but then you can't freak out if someone calls you a child. That's hardly the worst insult in the world. But then she responds, not just by crashing out and interjecting and causing a scene, but by trying to fight Jasmine Crockett. That's what she said. We can take this outside. That means let's go fight. That means let's throw hands. You are a sitting U.S. Congresswoman. Girl, are you okay? What are you doing? This is embarrassing. This is disgraceful. This doesn't have the dignity I expect of a minimum wage employee, let alone a U.S. representative. Somehow, she managed to make Jasmine Crockett look like the lesser of the two evils here. Obviously, she's behaving terribly, but my expectations for her are 0. Nancy Mace, these days my expectations for her are pretty low, but when she entered Congress, she was this sensible, moderate, this new kind of Republican. She came from a swing district, and then some things happened. Her district was redrawn to be much more MAGA. Some things may have happened in her personal life, and she's really crashed out. She's really spiraling, and I don't think she's okay, but my heart goes out to her. I hope she kind of gets it together, but whatever she's doing now, it's embarrassing. It's disgraceful. This is such a bad look for the Republican Party. Asking the Democrats to fight you because they minorly insulted you. Talk about snowflakery. Talk about childishness. She called you a child and you got upset, so you decided to act like an 8th grade boy, a ghetto 8th grade boy. What? But the second follow-up part of this story that truly pissed me off was Republicans gaslighting us after this and trying to claim that when she said, let's take this outside, which, by the way, reminded me of the Catch Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil all those years ago.
Catch me outside, how about that?
That when Nancy Mace said, let's take this outside, she didn't mean, let's go fight. She meant, let's go have a coffee and discuss. Seriously, that's what they're running with. Take a listen to what happened when a Democratic member tried to make a complaint because obviously threatening or trying to fight people in Congress is against the rules. The Republican in charge, Jim Comer, in his partisan, tribal, biased nature, pretended that Nancy Mace didn't say what we all dang know well that she said, and pretended that, oh, she just meant go outside for a chat. Bullshit, but take a listen.
What the gentlelady said was, we can take this outside if you want. And
Okay, so
that could mean you could go outside and have a cup of coffee or perhaps a beer or, you know, I mean, we have
seriously,
Mr.
lots of
Chairman?
conversations outside. So I'm going to rule that that it was, just
that it's okay.
that it's okay.
All right, and then point of inquiry.
And remember, this is a slippery slope you're going down because we have
Oh, you're
disagreements
going
in
down
this
the
committee,
slippery
as you
slope.
know.
So just to be clear, in this committee, we can ask, we can
Apparently.
threaten violence on someone as long as
no,
at
that's
the end,
not-
excuse me.
I did
long
not
as at
threaten
the end-
violence.
Excuse
I
me,
threatened no
excuse me.
violence.
There was
I threatened no
There
violence.
was no violence.
long
no
as
violence.
at the
Don't
end-
create a
I
false
threatened
add a
no
question
violence.
that
No,
was
no
none.
other
You're
person.
making shit up
It's
as you
good
go
to know,
along. You
good
might
to
want
know.
to figure this one out.
Order. There was
Mr.
no
I thought you were
Chairman.
cursing today.
No violence.
Mr. Chairman,
No violence.
I'm going to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Do they think we're stupid? Do they think we were born yesterday? Do they have this much contempt for their constituents and the American people? Y'all know I lean right. Y'all know I vote Republican, mostly. Some libertarian, some independent. My ideas and beliefs are way more aligned with Nancy Mace's than they are with Maxwell Frost, the young male Democrat who spoke up there and made the complaint. But he's right. She's wrong. And the Jim Comer here, his ruling is absurd. We all know what let's take this outside means. Across cultures, across this country, that means fight, okay? It doesn't mean go outside to chat over a cup of coffee. You're gaslighting us. You're insulting our intelligence. And honestly, from Nancy Mace, it's kind of pathetic because, girl, if you're going to say unhinged stuff, say it with your chest. You know what I mean? Own it. Say, yes, I did say that. Now cash me outside. At least go all in.
Catch me outside, how about that?
But don't say an unhinged thing because you wanted to clap back, you thought you were doing your big one or whatever, but then when you're actually held to account for it, deny and say you never said it. When it's all on video, we have ears, and we're not stupid. This is what I mean when I say that the GOP, in terms of the elected official side, has descended increasingly into clown world. These people aren't serious. They behave like children, and they don't do a good job of representing their constituents or the American people. And frankly, they're just banking on the fact that Democrats are so crazy and so extreme that Americans will vote for them anyway. I don't know about you guys, but my expectations and my bar is low, but it's not quite that low. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do hit that like button if you haven't yet. And do make sure you're subscribed. I know a lot of you watch, but aren't subscribed. And I do love you, do appreciate you watching, but also side-eye. Now we got to check in on California because it is obviously still in the midst of tragedy, and our hearts go out to everybody affected by the LA wildfires. But some pretty strange stuff is happening online and politically over there right now in the aftermath of all of this, particularly some truly deranged socialist meltdowns and strange stuff from the governor there, Gavin Newsom. Up first, a millionaire is facing cancellation for just trying to save his family and his home from the wildfires. Take a listen to this TikTok recapping the situation.
An LA millionaire has been accused of rich privilege while trying to save his house from the LA wildfires. Keith Wasserman said he would pay any amount for private firefighters to protect his house in the Pacific Palisades. And when met with backlash from people calling the post tone deaf, Keith posted, "Hello trolls." He did delete the post and deactivate the account, but not before sparking mass debate. Some understood the idea of having private firefighters if government resources are overwhelmed, But others think that assistance isn't something to be bought. And people like Kanye West and Kim Kardashian have faced backlash from using private services before. But what do you think?
Well, thank you for asking. I have plenty of thoughts, and I'm happy to share them. Y'all need to get a freaking grip. You're trying to cancel a man because he's trying to protect his home from being burnt down. It's not his fault if the government services that he's already forced to pay for aren't sufficient, if they're not able to contain the wildfire. I'm sure they're doing their best. That gets complicated. But like, he's facing this situation and he simply wants to know if there's something he can do to stop his home from burning to the ground. If there are private people he can contract with. How does somebody else, how does their home not being burnt down hurt you? Make you worse off? Oh, you can't afford private firefighters, so better that their home burns down too. What a cynical and envious lens through which to look at the world. That's truly some socialist, zero-sum, toxic mindset. I can understand why people might be frustrated, like, hey, our homes need to be protected as well, and maybe they need more resources in firefighting, maybe they need to focus on what really matters, maybe it's just a natural disaster that couldn't be controlled, I don't know. But somebody trying to protect their family home is not a bad guy, and spending your own money doesn't hurt other people, okay? So you're just triggered by the idea of private firefighting in a way that's really strange, to the point of bullying this man who's in the middle of a natural disaster off the face of the internet. Some of y'all are sick. Some of y'all are demented. There's no other word for this. It's honestly, it's kind of demonic. And it is representative of something broader, right? This hatred over somebody wanting to contract with someone else to protect their home that literally doesn't affect you in any way. That's a socialist mindset. That is a left-wing, toxic, progressive mindset on full display, and it is increasingly common and popular with young Americans. And I think it's a ruinous one. It's one that defines your own life and your happiness based on what other people somewhere else are doing instead of your own situation. It's a mindset that wants other people to suffer just because you have to suffer. That's weird. That's not normal. That's not the response of a healthy person to a tragedy or to adversity. Like, I just can't imagine joining the pile on somebody whose home is facing a wildfire because they wanted to protect their home and that makes them bad. Like, what? The internet is going to internet, I guess, but its levels of delusion and its unhinged mob campaigns will never cease to amaze and frankly, disgust me, at least. But this isn't the only kind of insane socialist BS going on in California right now during this disaster. The governor, Gavin Newsom, also had to get in on this with one of the strangest political announcements that I've heard in some time. Take a listen to this.
I'm here in Altadena. I just signed an executive order with community leaders to deal with the issue that is becoming a bigger and bigger issue every day, and that's land developers that are engaging in predatory efforts to make unsolicited offers for properties at significantly below market value. This predatory behavior is disgusting in the best of times, and of course here in the midst of this tragedy at scale, it's disgraceful. So we're going to hold those folks accountable. I'm very grateful for the leadership here in the community that promoted this approach, and this executive order is a reflection of their direction and their commitment to preserving the unique character of this community for generations to come.
That's right. Gavin Newsom, with all the problems happening in his state right now because of the wildfires, is making it illegal for companies to offer to purchase your property. What? The comments on Twitter ate him up. Only in the state of California would they make it illegal to offer to buy something. Insane that any commerce can happen in this draconian socialist shithole. This state is so stupid, man. What's the fair market value of a damaged structure in a fire-prone area where the government lacks the competence to do basic fire and water management? Good question. Because they're only cracking down on developers offering people to buy out their homes if it's a below market value. But obviously the market value has shifted significantly at the moment because of everything going on, and might not be perfectly easy for the government to ascertain and then criminally punish people for bad offers. I find Gavin Newsom's shtick here exhausting and frankly kind of offensive. You don't need to make it illegal for companies to offer to buy people's homes at bad prices. People can say no to the offer. They don't have to accept it. People aren't stupid. They know what their homes and their properties are worth to them. And if an offer is worth it, if they are looking to move, they are looking to get out of your state, and it's right for them to take it, and the developer wants the land at that price, it's like no one's being harmed there. That's not predatory. That's mutually voluntary. It's a mutually beneficial exchange. But over there somewhere, Gavin Newsom says, I object. Like, this is delusional, and it's offensive. It is condescending. It is saying Californians are too stupid to decide for themselves what to do with their homes and their properties, and need to be sheltered and protected by Big Daddy government, by Governor Gavin Newsom, who clearly is just a genius and doing a bang-up job in this state. Now he gets to micromanage everybody's property sales as well. I mean, this kind of thing, their hubris and their arrogance and their self-importance and their entitlement to invade personal spheres of responsibility and decision-making, it knows no bounds. And I find it astounding, tone-deaf, considering everything else they should be working on, but actually deeply revealing of the broader progressive worldview, at least held by many progressives, that views government and government officials as basically infinite in their wisdom and much smarter and much better able to make decisions about your life than you, the stupid little person who needs to be protected from yourself. I will never relate to that in any way, shape, or form, nor will I ever support politicians who think so little of me and my neighbors. But what about you? Do you disagree with me? You let me know in the comments below. I do take the time to read the comments, and do hit that like button if you haven't yet. Do make sure you're subscribed, and we'll talk again tomorrow.